Good afternoon, AP 11 students of Period 7. This is NHH News Station. I'm your host, Natalie Hua. Today we're going to touch on a subject that most of us should be familiar with, but don't know the ins and the outs of it. We're going to talk about the social responsibility that comes with it as well. So let's get right into the video. Millions are on the move. Every minute, 24 people around the world are forced to flee their homes. That's 34,000 people a day who leave everything behind in the hope of finding safety and a better tomorrow. The refugee crisis is a global issue that has set record-breaking numbers over the years. More people have been forcibly displaced from their homes than any other time since World War II. The conditions that refugees often go through to get to their final destination are life-threatening and unpleasant. First off, for those of you unfamiliar with the term, what exactly is a refugee? Well, the United Nations defines a refugee as someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. Most of these refugees cannot return home or are afraid to do so. 67% of all refugees worldwide come from just 5 countries: Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Myanmar, and Somalia. Okay, we got the percentage of all refugees coming from just 5 countries. But how many people are we actually talking about? The UN estimates some 65.3 million people were displaced in 2015, and now that number is up to 70 million. 51% of all refugees are children. But to sum it up, 1 in every 113 people in the world is a refugee. These statistics may be blowing up your mind right now. It might be hard to take in, but this is reality. These numbers are real, and millions of refugees are leaving what they know as home to places of the unknown in hopes of a better future. To continue, let's talk about the source of the crisis. Over here at NHH News Station, we will be getting down to the specifics from crises in different regions of the world. So, starting off with the largest refugee crisis. Over the last 8 years, intense fighting in Syria has forcibly displaced more people than any other country. At least 13 million remain displaced, in or outside Syria. Many have sought refuge in Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, and Europe. Turkey hosts the largest number of registered Syrian refugees, roughly over 30.3 million. Over in Afghanistan, years of ongoing conflict, political instability, drought, and economic chaos have caused a massive migration from Afghanistan. Nearly 2.7 million people have forced to leave the country to Iran, Pakistan, or Europe. And in South Sudan, political conflict mixed with economic woes and drought has caused massive displacement, raging violence, and dire food shortages. 3.7 million have fled their homes, and South Sudan is the third largest refugee crisis, coming right after what we mentioned earlier, the Syrian and Afghanistan crisis. And in Myanmar, years of violence, discrimination, and prejudice have caused some uprising on the part of Rohingya. Many Rohingya villages have been targeted and destroyed by fires in the Rakhine state, forcibly displacing the Rohingya population with a total of 1.1 million refugees. The UN investigators have warned there is a serious risk that genocidal actions may occur or reoccur. The massive number of refugees who fled to Bangladesh in 2017 joined hundreds of thousands of Rohingya who had fled Myanmar in previous years. But in March 2019, Bangladesh announced it would no longer accept Rohingya fleeing Myanmar. These are just the top 5 crises happening around the globe right now. Many other countries such as Venezuela, Somalia, and Yemen are going through tough situations regarding refugees too, and they're also fleeing the country. Will the number of refugees continue to grow? Well, the answer to that is unfortunately yes. Because without the main source of problem being resolved within each country, people will continue to try and flee for their lives. So, what are some ways governments from other countries change the way they're currently handling this crisis? People are dying while governments spend billions on border control. According to Amnesty International, world leaders need to put saving lives first. No one should have to die crossing a border, and yet almost 7,000 people drowned in the Mediterranean alone in the 2 years since first shipwreck in October 2013. But ultimately, to resolve this crisis is by ending the conflicts and persecution that force people to flee in the first place. But no one really knows when that will be. Meanwhile, we do need radical solutions, visionary leadership and global cooperation on a scale not seen for 70 years. That involves setting up strong refugee systems, allowing people to apply for asylum, and providing basics like education and healthcare. So, how does the US compare with the other countries in terms of accepting refugees? According to the UN, the US ranks 50th in the world of acceptance of refugees. From 2012 to 2017, the US accepted a net increase of 654,000 of refugees. That amounted to 0.2% of the US population in 2017. The more accepted nations include Australia, Sweden, Germany. The average rate for those countries was 0.7%, and that's 3.3 times more than the United States. Just listen to those facts. Our news story for the day is coming to an end. And that brings me to ask you our final and most important question. How can an ordinary citizen like us help out refugees in need of aid at this very moment? According to TED Ideas, one of the ways you could help out is to donate. There are many organizations online and near your community that specifically promote to help provide food, shelter, and clothing for refugees. Every dollar you donate can seriously change a person's life. So, another way is to speak out and advocate for this issue. So go out and urge your elected officials to oppose President Trump's ban on refugees. These are only a few ways to show social responsibility towards the issue of the refugee crisis. But these small actions taken by individuals is what will leave major impacts on many refugees' lives. So what will you do to help with this problem? I will leave you on that note. This has been your NHH news station reporting for 7th Hour AP 11. I'm your host, Nali Kwa, signing off.